Good morning, lovely friends. How are you all today? I hope you're well. I hope you're somewhere wonderfully warm and snug, unlike me. Oh my goodness. Wow, the weather has really changed. Actually, it's really bright this morning, which is lovely. And the rain has stopped for now. It's due to come back this afternoon, so I need to get a wriggle on today. But my goodness, the temperature has dropped. So, today's the 12th of November. The last video you saw, you'll have seen it a couple of days ago. I actually did that bit of gardening and that bit of filming on the 2nd of November. That day when I came down to finally start the big autumn cleanup. The plan was, of course, between then and now, to have been down 3 or 4 times and carried on that work, and maybe by now have all the beds covered. Life, family, health, all those things got in the way, so I haven't been to the garden for 10 days. Eek! And like I said, the difference in temperature is really noticeable, because back then, 10 days ago, I think it was about sort of 13 or 14 degrees while I was out here working, and I ended up shedding layers. Today it's 3 degrees. Now, I know that for a lot of you in the world, you're thinking, oh, that's a lovely, mild, balmy day. It's not that cold. It's more that it just seems to have come a bit suddenly this year. And I don't know whether it's because in those intervening 10 days, as the temperature's been dropping, I've not been coming out to the garden and getting acclimatised. I don't know, but it feels a bit sudden this year, and a bit... I've got my gloves on, for goodness sakes. I've got a fleece and a hoodie on. So it's definitely a day to be moving to stay warm. Now, 10 days, it's quite a chunk of time, and the work that I was beginning to do at the beginning of November was stuff I should have done in October. And at the beginning of November, I was saying how I was feeling really behind in the garden. I'm feeling so behind now, it's ridiculous. I've got bean poles up still, I've got plants in the ground which need to come out, I've got beds to cover. The good thing is, of course, that for the most part at this time of year, you know, if I miss a week, if I miss 2 weeks in the garden, it's not too big of an issue. You know, I can play catch up. And it's ironic, isn't it, because in that last video I was saying, don't worry about how much time in hours you're spending in the garden. It's more about making that commitment to coming at least once a week. Look, sometimes life gets in the way. I had an absolute humdinger of a migraine that put me to bed for 2 days, completely to bed. And then I had 2 days after it when I'd got up, when I was just like, going really slowly. And I'm just coming out of that now, so it just eats up a whole chunk of time. Never mind. So the good thing, like I say, is this time of year, it doesn't matter too much. It's not like, you know, at the height of summer, it's not like I've missed watering. It's not like I've been missing harvesting or, you know, tying and nipping and all those things in summer. That's great. And the other good thing, now that I've kind of decided pretty much once and for all to ditch there goes Rusty. You might hear, I'm just getting comfy. I've put my mattress in the shed finally. It's really comfy. Yes, I've decided finally, once and for all, to ditch doing the green manure over winter. So for a number of years I sowed field beans in October. They come up very like broad beans, let them overwinter, and then about February strim the tops of them off and let them wilt on the ground. Then a few weeks later turn that in, then leave the bed fallow for a month before I then plant or sow in about April. It's a great way of adding nutrition. It's a bit of ground cover during the worst of the winter rains. All of those benefits and all those reasons that I did it. However, what I was finding, 2 things. One, in the spring, in March when they need digging in, my ground is so heavy and wet. It was an absolute nightmare doing it. I would dread it every year. It was such hard, back-breaking work. And I didn't really feel like, after doing it for 3 or 4 years, I didn't really feel like I was getting anywhere in terms of the structure of my soil, the heaviness of it. I'm sure I was adding nutrition, but yeah, in terms of the structure, still so heavy. So I used to dread it. And frankly, I mean, I do love digging. Oh, I love it. But to do the whole plot every year with my knees, it was just becoming ridiculous. But the other thing is having to get the beds cleared in time to sow the seed in October in order to give it time to grow. So, yeah, I decided that I wasn't going to do it anymore. Last year I had the experiment for the first time with leaves and compost and what have you with the cardboard. And it seemed to work really well in terms of the soil structure is much better, soil is easier to work with, way less digging, etc, etc. But of course what it's also done is it's given me a little bit of room to breathe at this time of year, so that, for example, by now, if I was doing green manure, I'd be in a right royal panic, because I'd be too late, frankly. I'd be too late to be sowing it now. So I'd have plants coming out of beds, I'd have bare beds. So yes, I'm glad I've changed to my coverings with cardboard, leaves and compost. I need to start in earnest to gather leaves, because the leaves are now finally coming down. Right, anyway, that's enough of that. Oh yes, just before we go out into the garden, this is how long it's been. So if you remember at the end of October, in my thoughts on month 30, right at the end I was saying, hey, why not write a surprise postcard to a friend you haven't been in touch with for ages? Just for the sake of it, just for the sake of putting a smile on your friend's face. Well, thank you, because some of you chose me to send your postcard to. I've had some really lovely ones. I'm just going to very quickly show you. I've got yeah, I'll say that in a second. Canada Goose from M. Thank you. Love this one. Look, the fox. That's from, it's from Rue. From Rue's Life. Check her out. Winter reminds us that everyone and everything needs some quiet time. Oh, it sure does. I love this one. This is from Ali. Yes, a bit of a cream tea. And then this one, it's from Mary. Yes, beautiful little pressed snowdrop. Isn't that gorgeous? And just quickly, it sort of brings me on to this whole thing about winter. I'm going to put my gloves back on. It really is quite chilly. You know, it's really easy to get into the mindset of despondency with the cold and the dark and what have you. But I read a really interesting little piece about the Norwegians up in Tromsø, the far, far north. And how their mindset is that they look forward to winter because, of course, skiing starts, but they look forward to those cosy times. They look forward to the times of communing with friends by the light of an open fire or candles, of mugs of gorgeous piping hot drinks like hot chocolate and what have you. So I'm trying to adopt that mindset this winter. The reason I was thinking of that is because of the cream tea. I was thinking, yeah, get outside while the sun's out while you can, but then when you're inside, make the most of it. Build a lovely fire if you're allowed to, light some candles, wrap your hands around a steaming mug of hot chocolate. I shouldn't have mentioned that, because now I want a mug of hot chocolate. Never mind. Right, okay, first job of the day. Really need to crack on now. Oh dear me. This is the only thing where I'm late and I'm thinking, oh, actually there's a couple of things where the timing might be an issue. I need to harvest the Flint corn, for goodness sakes. This is the latest I've ever done it. I think last year I did it on the 1st of November. I've no idea what to expect. They were so late developing anyway. It's been cold, it's been wet. I'm half expecting most of them to have rotted. Whatever, I need to get that bed harvested and cleared today. Well, let's see how far we get. That's the first job of the day. So come on, put something warm on and come with me into the garden and let's go and pick some flint corn. Oh, there's a stiff chilly breeze as well. But I love the sound of it in the flint corn. This gorgeous, oh, it's beautiful. So, right, all there is to it, get stuck in, find my cobs. Yeah, just get the cobs stripped out first. What a few there are. You can see it's taken a right battering through October with rain, wind. Yeah, very, very, very low expectations for this harvest this year, but let's see. Still really wet. Ideally, in terms of timing for the flint corn harvest, you want to leave them to dry on the plants for as long as possible. So they're kind of getting to that stage now. Oh, and when the wind drops, it's lovely. Yeah, they're sort of at that stage now, but ideally they'd be like this at the beginning of October and then have a long, dry, sunny October to really help dry them. We haven't had that. I've waited and waited. You know, the number of times I thought, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, and then it rains again. And I worry that two things, if I leave them any longer, they're going to rot. But also, I really want to clear this bed because this bed has been in action for 18 months. I want to get it cleared and get some nutrition back into that soil. More of that when I've actually cleared the bed though. So, chop chop, get picking. About this end. Oh, the onion in there at all. look at the difference. Upper. This is what I mean about them developing really late. That's more about what I'm looking for and what I would expect by now. And this one, look how it's still so green. And there are loads, I'm seeing loads which are really tiny and literally just starting. And I didn't do anything differently this year in terms of, I wasn't late sowing the seed in the first place. I wasn't late planting it out. Excuse me. This bed was well watered in the summer because they are really greedy for water. They're also really greedy nitrogen feeders, so I was giving them a fertiliser of my urine, as I've done for the last few years. And if I only make enough urine to do one bed, I tend to focus it on the Flint Corn because they're so greedy. But yeah, not sure. Look, I'll finish picking, and then whatever the result is, I'll show you back at the shed before I then come back and start getting this bed cleared. Let's not stand around too long, it's blooming chilly. Well, I've pulled off a truck full. Haven't counted them, haven't weighed them obviously, and invariably there will be ones still out there that I've missed. And normally this would be the point of the day. Oh, sorry, this wind's blowing my hair everywhere. Yes, this would be the point in the day, the point in the video where I'd sit down outside the shed, do my prep, etc., for storing. But it's too cold for just sitting still. So I'm just going to show you quickly. I'm going to have to take my gloves off for this, which is annoying. And I'll show you quickly what I do to prepare them for storage. The first phase. Normally I would do this and hang them in the shed to finish drying, but I think because everything's so wet, I think I'm going to have to take them home. Obviously the shed is dry, but it's chilly in there, and I just think they'll be better off at home. So, stripping the outer leaves, most of them, I'll strip them right off. And then, this is the bit that's like Christmas, isn't it? So for those of you who haven't seen my Flint Corn before, you may be familiar with a type called glass gem. So it's supposed to be lots of different colours, blues, greys, pinks, deep dark raspberry pink, bubblegum pinks. So it's always a delight to open them to see what colours are going to be revealed. So I take most of the outer leaves off, but then when I get to these last few, I'm going to leave them, it's like a banana, leave them peeled back because I'll use those to hang it by. Oh, look. Oh, beautiful colours. That sun is so bright this morning. It may actually be bleaching the colours out. Gorgeous. So, get it all peeled and revealed. Isn't that beautiful? Now you can see all these little silks. What I didn't know until this year is, so these are the silk tassels which are going to be hanging out of the end of the cob as it's forming and as it's growing. And then at the top of the plant where you get the sort of the frondy bits of pollen, that's what falls down onto the silks, and that's what pollinates it, so that you get all your lovely kernels. What I didn't know is that each one of these silks represents an individual kernel. So all the silks, each and every single one of them, needs to be pollinated for you to get a complete cob. Sorry, just let's get it clean. There we go. Look at the, oh, isn't that amazing? Absolutely stunning. Oh, well, I'm chuffed with that one. First one out of the trug, and it's a gorgeous one. I don't think all the rest are going to be so fantastic, but that's basically, once that's all dry and ground, that's going to give me a cup of flour. Brilliant. So now what I'll do, or what I would normally do, is I'll get a couple more, tie them together by their leaves up here at the top, and then simply hang them in the shed over winter to dry out. like I say, I think I'm going to bring them home to dry, because it is a bit late, it is cold and it's damp, but I tell you what, I'm blooming chuffed with that one. So I'm going to leave them exactly as they are for now and just take them home like this, and I'll do that work sitting down at home, listen to the radio. Oh, I'll see if there's a new podcast by Richard and Paul, because they've started podcasting and their podcasts are fabulous. If I remember, I'll put a link on the bottom. So for now, it's back to that bed to get all that foliage off and chopped, get the big thick stalks out, and then phase 2 can start. Let's keep moving. It's not the quickest job clearing this lot. I've been at it for a little bit over an hour. I'm really into timing myself these days. The quickest and easiest way to deal with it, of course, if we put it all out, burn it, which is what a lot of people do on site. But there's masses of organic matter here, so I think it's a no-brainer. Take the time, get it chopped up. This is my 3rd barrow load now. Chop it up, get it dumped on one of my beds. Cover the ground over winter. It'll compost down. Some of this sort of the more fibrous bits, the roots or whatever, well, that might get dug in next year. It's that thing with clay soil of just continually looking for ways to add organic matter. If you don't have the money to buy compost every year, which I certainly don't. So yeah, it's really time consuming. But look, it's a beautiful, beautiful bright morning. The wind has got teeth, I've got to say. Yeah, the wind has definitely got a bite to it. But keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Just to say, in case you're wondering, noisy, rattle. Why am I not just cropping and dropping here? So, as I was mentioning earlier, this bed has worked really hard for the last 18 months. In April 2018, I planted my main crop potatoes. They stayed in until October 2018. They came out, garlic went in. The garlic stayed in from October 2018 right through till June 2019, this year. Then the Flint Corn went in. So, the bed's worked really hard. 3 different crops, all taking up different nutrients, all robbing the soil. So, the reason I'm not putting the Flint Corn detritus on here is I want a much more rich compost, a more varied compost. So I'm going to use compost from the bin, which is compost from all sorts of different plants. My thinking is that as those plants have taken up nutrients from the soil, all sorts of different ones, I want to get all those different ones back in, rather than just say what the Flint Corn has robbed. And as always, there are always a few more treasures to be found. Speaking of potatoes, I did just find a potato as well. So that's what. The potatoes in this bed came out over a year ago. Most of this will chop down where I've got really thick, gnarly stems towards the bottom, or really thick clumps of roots. I'm just hoiking those out of the ground for now. I've set them aside. And then on another day when I've either got an axe with me or even a hacksaw or something, I'll chop them down with that. Because this compost, when it becomes compost, my thinking is it will be less nutrient dense than what's in the bin. I am putting it, which I will show you later. I'm hopefully going to get that done as well. I'm going to put it on the bed, which will become a plastic bed, because that doesn't want to be too rich. But I do want to add it in terms of just helping to open up all of that claggy clay that I have. So, nearly there, and then it'll be time to go and explore the compost bin again. Oh. Some of them, they're not too chunky and gnarly, so I will be able to have a go at snipping this today. Yeah, it's quite amazing, isn't it? It's another instance of looking at the roots. It's not a huge root system, is it? Which, when you think how tall these can get to sort of 8-9 feet, that's not a lot of root to anchor them into the ground, is it? So it's perhaps not surprising that some of them have gone a bit sideways because of the wind. Actually, that was a bit, or maybe a bit too chunky. We'll do that one later. Whew. Good, nearly there. Nearly there. I think by the time I've finished doing all my autumn chopping, it will definitely be time to give my secateurs a bit of maintenance. I've never done it before, as in take them apart, sharpen them, clean them. But I'm jolly well going to have a go this year. And I will follow the wonderful video that Cliff made from Castle Hill. But that will be another day. I've still got all the bean arches to get down. Well, the second lot with the gigantes on, which have got a lot of foliage on, which needs chopping up. Right, let me crack on with this. And then we'll see how the bed looks once it's bare. It's a windy day. It's not staying like this. I'm just doing it today, literally just to stop it all from blowing away. Oh, windy. It's heavy and wet. Will do. Right. Compost. What I forgot to mention earlier when I was just in the end clearing and talking about the fact that this bed has been going for 18 months, poor bed, poor hard-working bed, and therefore wanting to put some good compost on, it's not just about what it's been up to for 18 months, but it's also, I'm already thinking ahead to next year. So with my rotation, what was bed number 1? Tomatoes, squash, cukes. That's going to jump whoop, all the way down to here, and that's going to be here this year. Now, oh, here comes that wind again. Obviously I've got my lovely rose bush here. That's going to be in the way for tomatoes, because it would be 2 rows of tomatoes. Let's wait for that gust. 2 rows of tomatoes, 2 rows of tomatoes, but I'm actually going to shove the tomatoes at that end because of the tomato, and I'm going to have this end for all the horizontal squash, so they can just sprawl wherever they want. Squash are really greedy, hence the better compost. I also, just a second ago, on the end here, I've dug a bean trench, because the bean arches that were up at the top end, they're going to go whoop, they're going to jump and come down to here for next year. So, bean trench ready for me to chuck whatever in over the winter. Now let's spread some compost. Oh, and I think I might need to do a bit of pruning of the rows. It amazes me that the rose just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. I think I've deadheaded it 3 times now. And each time it just keeps coming back and giving me more. Hurrah! I might have to go back to the compost bin for a second helping, but there is enough for another helping. I also, in that compost bin, there is quite a bit more, but I'm saving a bit for here because, again, squash will be here next year, So I really want to give this soil a jolly good feed over the winter. And the worms too, for that matter. Do for now. If there's a little bit left over, I'll whack it on, of course, but yeah, for now that's okay. It seems to be getting a little bit greyer by the minute and a little bit more blustery by the minute. I really hope this rain doesn't come because there's quite a lot of work to catch up with. Good though. Flint corn harvest done, yay, at last. Of course now I've got to get it home and do all the prep, but it's out of the ground, brilliant, and that's another bed nearly ready to be tucked up for winter. And I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about another 7 beds to give a similar treatment to. So I better get on with it, hadn't I? I can't believe it, this morning has already gone. I've been down here for about, I don't know, 3 hours already, and that's it for my morning. But it's good stuff. Right, let's get on. I forgot to mention right at the start of the video that, of course, the first thing I did when I got down here this morning, which now seems like yesterday, was check on my broad beans and garlic. So, no sign of the broad beans yet. I'm trying now to think when it was that they were planted. I think it's about 3 weeks ago. Might be getting on for 4 weeks ago. But first signs of the garlic shoots. Little teeny tiny bright green, such a beautiful, vibrant, full of life green they are. Absolutely gorgeous. And it's like I was saying when I was planting, it's one of the joys of planting at this time of year is, you know, so many times when we come to our gardens at this time of year, it's about closing things down, finishing things up, tucking things away. So it's really lovely to have a bed which is all about beginning, just starting. Oh, it's great. Anyway, that has all taken me way longer than I thought this morning. It's always the case, isn't it? Oh my goodness. I should make a little note for myself through the year and then do a little, oh, magpie squawking, and then do a little list at the beginning of the year to remind myself that harvesting and clearing flint corn takes the best part of 3 hours, if not more. Anyway, it's great. It's been a really beautiful, bright, bracing morning. And right back to what I was saying at the beginning about that whole mindset thing about winter is to, for me anyway, is to enjoy the brightness. My goodness, that wind was breezy and chilly, but enjoy the freshness of it, really embrace it. And then later on when I go home, the coziness of home will feel even more cozy in contrast. Yay! I'm not going to go home quite yet, there's still lots to do, but that will be for another video. So for now, I'm going to say cheerio to you all. I know that so many of you by now have got snow, and gardening it's not going to be possible now until, oh gosh, way into next year. I hope, vicariously, you can enjoy a bit of gardening by hanging out with me in my garden. Even if it's doing something really mundane like chopping flint corn foliage. Well, for me, it's been a joy to have you along for company. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you again really soon. Cheerio!